Jayo Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayo Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayo Gauranitai, Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jayo Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jai Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva. Jai Jai Gurudev, 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 Jai Jai Gurudev, Gurudev, Gurudev. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivivacakacharya Astota Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. BBT Founder Acharya His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Premshika Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Radha Kun Chamakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Shri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Hari Nam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Birhat Murdanga Ki Jai, Gaura Pramanande, Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Jnana Timirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadam Tikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Saditam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Rata Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vishabhanu Sute Deve Pranamami Hare Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to today's ecstatic Srimad Bhagavatam study. Here, first of all, I would like to beg blessings from all of you so I can say something proper to glorify Srila Prabhupada. So today we are going to read Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10, verse number 37 to 40. I would read 37, 38, and 39, and then we can together chant the verse 40. Prajapatim manum devan rishin pitṛganam pratak sita-charana gandharvam vidyat rasuraguyakam Kinnarapsara sonagam sarpan king purusham naram matri-raksha pishachamscha preta bhuta vinayakam kushmandam madavetalam yatudhanan graham napi khagam mrigam pashum viksham Girim nripasareshipam dvi-vidhāś catur-vidhāyanye jala-sthala-nabhaukasaḥ kuśalākuśalā miśrāḥ karmaṇāṁ gatayas 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 imāḥ. Vaishnavas, please. Dvi-vidhāś catur-vidhā anye jala-sthala-nabhaukasaḥ kuśalākuśalā miśrāḥ karmaṇāṁ gatayas imāḥ. Dvi-vidhāś catur-vidhā anye jala-sthala-nabhaukasaḥ kuśalākuśalā miśrāḥ karmaṇāṁ gatayas imāḥ. Hare Krishna, word for word. Do we need to find dvi-vidhāḥ, the moving and the standing living entities. Catur-vidhā, living entities born from embryos, eggs, perspiration, and seeds. Ye, others. Anye, all. Jala, water. Sthala, land. Nabha-okasaḥ, birds. Kuśala, in happiness. Akuśalāḥ, in distress. miśrāḥ, in mixed happiness and distress. Karmaṇāṁ, according to one's own past deeds. Gatayaḥ, as a result of. Two, but. Imāḥ, all of them. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. O King, know from me that all living entities are created by the Supreme Lord according to their past deeds. This includes Brahmā and his sons like Dakṣa, the periodical heads like Vaivasvata Manu, the demigods like Indra, Candra and Varuṇa, the great sages like Vyāsa and Vasiṣṭha, the inhabitants of Pitṛloka and Siddhaloka, the Charanas, Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, Asuras, Yakshasas, Kinnaras and angels, the serpentines, the monkey-shaped king Purushas, the human beings, the inhabitants of Pitṛloka, the demons, Pishachas, ghosts, spirits, lunatics and evil spirits, the good and evil stars, the goblins, the animals in the forest, the birds, the household animals, the reptiles, the mountains, the moving and standing living entities, the living entities born from embryos, from eggs, from perspiration, and from seeds, and all others, whether they be in the water, land, or sky, in happiness, distress, or in mixed happiness and distress. All of them, according to their past deeds, are created by the Supreme Lord. Purport. The varieties of living entities are mentioned in this list, and with no exception from the topmost planet down to the lowest planet of the universe, all of them in different species of life are created by the Almighty Father Vishnu. Therefore, no one is independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita 14.4, the Lord therefore claims all living entities as His offspring in the following verse. Sarvayonishu konteya murtaya sambhavantiyaha tasam brahma mahat yunir aham bija pradhapita. The material nature is compared to the mother. Although every living being is seen to come out of the mother's body, it is still a fact that the mother is not the ultimate cause of such a birth. The father is the ultimate cause of birth. Without the father's seed, no mother can give birth to a child. Therefore, the living beings in different varieties of forms and positions within the innumerable universes are all born of the seeds of the Almighty Father, the personality of Godhead. And only to the man with the poor fund of knowledge, they appear to be born of the material nature. Being under the material energy of the Supreme Lord, all living entities, beginning from Brahmā down to the insignificant ant, are manifested in different bodies according to their past deeds. The material nature is one of the energies of the Lord. The material nature is inferior in comparison to the living entities, the superior nature. The superior nature and inferior nature of the Lord combine to manifest all universal affairs. Some of the living entities are relatively happy in better conditions of life, whereas others are in distressed conditions of life. But factually, none of them are actually happy in material conditional life. No one can be happy in prison life, although one may be a first-class prisoner and another a third-class prisoner. The intelligent person should not try to be promoted from third-class prison life to first-class prison life, but should try to be released from the prison altogether. One may be promoted to a first-class prisoner, but the same first-class prisoner is again degraded to a third-class prisoner in the next term. One should try to be free from prison life and go back home, back to Godhead. That is a real goal for all types of living entities. Hare Krishna. First of all, we would like to clear some basic concepts mentioned in the text and also in the purport. Maybe some points are confusing. So the first point I would like to mention is the living entities in the text. It is also mentioned that the mountains is also kind of living entity. Maybe we feel confused. But actually in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6 and Canto 8, both places mention that the mountains are also considered as kind of living entities, and they have wings, they can fly. But they have wings, they fly, but sometimes they fell down, so they would mash a lot of people. So the living entities will be killed by them. That's why Indra, he cuts off all the wings of the mountains. And then the mountains become stationary and not flying anymore. So mountains is a kind of living entity. And also in the purport mentions different living entities. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary to this verse, he mentioned the living entities are 2 types, 3 types, and 4 types. The 2 types living entity refers to the moving living entity and the non-moving living entity. And the 3 types of living entity refers to the living entities living in the air and the living entities living on the land, and also the living entities living in the water. And the 4 types of living entities refers to the living entities born from the embryos, means they are born from the wombs. And also the living entities born from the eggs. We know a lot of birds, almost all the birds, they are born from the eggs. And also there are some living entities born from the seeds. We can see all the trees, flowers, they're born from the seeds. And also the last type, that is a living entity born from the perspiration. And interestingly, before I was reading this, I was thinking, oh, maybe when we are sweating, a lot of germs burn. But actually not. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th Canto, Chapter 3, and verse 39, in the purport, it is mentioned that according to Sri Madhvacharya's opinion, the perspiration refers to the dew of the earth. And the dew of the earth is considered the perspiration, the sweat of the earth. So a lot of living entities are born from that dew of the earth, the perspiration of the earth. So now we cleared out the maybe easily confused concepts. And then we can see the structure of the purport. Why I would like to mention this first, because we can see from all the arrangement, actually Srimad Bhagavatam is very, very systematic. If we study different cantos, different chapters, and different verses, and then to different purports, we can see the whole Srimad Bhagavatam is systematically telling us how to turn our attention to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And also, there are topics of evolution. This evolution means from some basic topics like Svarga and Visarga, then slowly at the end, up to the 10th topic, Ashraya, we have to take shelter of the ultimate goal, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then in Srimad Bhagavatam, no word is superfluous, no word is aimless, and no word is distracting our attention from that supreme goal. Maybe when we're reading the text, we feel a little confused because there are so many, all kinds of living entities there mentioned. But there is a purpose of mentioning all this, even like we could not imagine that such living entities exist. But there is a purpose. And also the Srimad Bhagavatam provides us two gradual ways for us to remove our misunderstandings and then uncovering our understanding to the Supreme Absolute Truth. So that is one way, a gradual way, is to contemplate ourselves. By contemplating ourselves, we can find a microcosm, like a small sample of the Supreme Perfection, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, from another way, like a macrocosm. And we can try to see the universal form, and then we can understand how is the Lord's potencies and how is His mercy. Actually, the Lord, He has nothing to do with the material world. In Chandogya Upanishad, that is 8.7.1, it is mentioned Satya Kamaha, Satya Sankalpaha. All his desires are fulfilled, and everything emanates by his will. So he has no purpose, but still he created this material world. For what purpose? For us. If we want to say there's a purpose of his creating this material world for himself, and then the only purpose for him is to reclaim all the fallen conditioned souls. Therefore, when we study the Srimad Bhagavatam, we can see the flow, and we can see that nothing is wasted. Everything is leading us towards the end, the ultimate goal. So we can see there are very prominently four main points in Srila Prabhupada's purport. The first point Srila Prabhupada mentioned is the ultimate cause of birth. The ultimate cause of birth. Actually, in this section, verse 37 to 40, it is mainly talking about Visarga. And in the previous verse, in yesterday's verse, it is mentioned that Supreme Personality of Godhead, because He does not contact the material nature, and when He wants to create, He used Brahmā to do it. But then in this verse, it is mentioned in the text that how Brahmā is creating everything. But interestingly speaking, in the purport, it is mentioned the Bhagavad Gita, Shloka 14.4. And here it is mentioned aham bija pradapita. This is something we need to clarify, and it's also very interesting, because here aham bija pradapita doesn't refer to Lord Brahma. Here, this creator refers to Lord Shiva. And the reference, yes, I saw your face. You can check when you go home. It is mentioned in Canto 8, Chapter 7, verse 22 in the purport in the last session. It is mentioned especially that here, aham bija pratapita. Why? Srila Prabhupada said in that purport that Lord himself, like Mahavishnu, Karanadaksha Vishnu or Garbhodaksha Vishnu, they do not directly contact the material energy. And when they need to contact, because they have to give the seeds. What are the seeds? The seeds are the living entities, jivatmas. So when it's time for them to project the seeds into the womb of material nature, the Prakriti, the womb of Prakriti, who is doing that? It's Lord Shiva. He's doing that. So this is something we need to clarify so we don't have any confusions. Therefore, we can also see from all of this how interesting is the creation. Actually, this is the Lord's plan. What is his plan? His ultimate plan is bring all of us back home, back to Godhead. But how he can execute his plan? So, in order to execute his plan, we go back to first canto, chapter 5, verse number 8 and verse number 13. In number 8, it is mentioned that even after compiling the Vedanta Sutra, Vyasadeva is not happy. Why he's not happy? Because he didn't specifically glorify the Lord's pastimes. So in verse 13, 1.5.13, his spiritual master Narada Muni told him, you should write another literature and specifically describe all this wonderful pastime of Lord. So then we can see this is a way of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how he brings all of us, the fallen conditioned souls, back home, back to Godhead, back to him. And there are two kinds of pastimes. One kind of pastime is the pastimes of creation. This is something, as a beginner, we can become more related to. And then there's another kind of pastimes. It's very pleasing pastimes. All those pastimes are mentioned in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srila Jiva Goswami, he said, all those pastimes, they are so nice, so they would remove our attraction towards the other topics. Therefore, all the pastimes like nectar, like one cup after another cup of nectar, and should be drank one by one. And then we drank enough nectar, we remove all our attraction to other topics, all the mundane topics. And we become focused on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In that way, we have hope of going home, going back to Godhead. So in the first part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentioned the ultimate cause of birth, the Supreme Father, is Lord Sri Krishna. And maybe some devotee has another doubt that how can we say the cause is Krishna, and then the cause is Brahmā, and then the cause is Lord Shiva. I can give a very simple example. For example, we have a very famous building in our Mayapur campus, the Long building, also called Chakra building. I heard it is the landmark of the whole West Bengal as the longest building in the whole West Bengal. So who built it? We can say Srila Prabhupada built it. No problem. Because Srila Prabhupada inspired all the devotees to build it. And then we can also say it is built by His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj. Because he personally is going to Krishnanagar and bring all the cements and construction materials back to Mayapur. So we can say it is also built by Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj. And then we can also say it is built by the head mystery. And maybe there are some workers, they can also say, oh, I built this one. So there is no contradiction. we can mention. But then among all the builders, there is a fundamental builder. That is Srila Prabhupada. That is why he's also called the founder Acharya of International Society of Krishna Consciousness. So among all the creators of the material world, the different layers of creation, the fundamental creator is Lord Sri Krishna himself. He's the cause of all causes. Brahma Samhita, and it is mentioned that Ishvara Parama Brahmā, Ishvara Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. Sarva Karana, he is the cause of all causes. So he is the supreme creator for all the material world. And then, when we understand this, so we should think about how to remove our attention from the material side to the Supreme Lord. And when we are reading all the different species mentioned in these few shlokas, we can try to do an experiment. We are not thinking, oh, what is this? Like a hot pot. So many different names mentioned. We try to become a distant witness. We try to observe what is happening here. Because all these things happened of different desires of the living entities. And we have been taking birth again and again in different mahakalpas, in different kalpas, in different like exhale of Mahavishnu. And then now is the time we think about it. Why is like this? Why we are getting different bodies? Why we have to accept different species? And then we have to meet good and evil in all kinds of different species, like Bhagavad Gita 13:22. But that is only because of guna. Guna sangasya. Because we associate with different modes of material nature, and then we develop different inclinations. And because of our desires from immemorial, so we are again and again being cast into this material world. So this brings out the second main point in this purport. The different bodies of the Jivatma is due to our past deeds. And what is the cause of past deeds? That is because we have different desires. And every time Lord Mahavishnu, when he exhales, so the material world are created, and then through Sadasiva, through Shambhu, he's injecting all the different seeds, the different jivas into the womb of Prakriti. At that time, we're not coming alone. We're coming with the remnants of our previous desires. The remnants of our previous desires. So that is the creation, the whole process. If someone is very interested in this part, when you go home, you can also refer to Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th Canto, Chapter 7, verse 11 and 12. And the verse 11 mentions Sarga, the creation of Lord Mahavishnu. And then verse 12 mentions the Visarga. What is the categories of Lord Brahma's creation? And it gives us a very clear idea. And also here in the second canto is just preliminary mentioning of the creation. But in the next canto, in the third canto, from chapter 8, then 9, 10, 11, 12, it will give us more details of how Lord Brahma is creating the material world. See how interesting it is. Not one chapter, not one shlok, not one word is wasted. And maybe somebody may say, since at the beginning of this chapter, shloka number 1 and 2 mentioned the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam, and this 10 topics is also the reason why Srimad Bhagavatam is considered as a Mahapurana. Some people say, okay, 10 topics, one topic can be allocated to one canto, so the first 2 cantos usually we can cut it off. The real Srimad Bhagavatam starts from Canto 3. Or someone has such an opinion that the first canto, we cannot see any trace of direct Shukadeva Goswami talking to Maharaj Parikshit. And also in the last half part of 12th canto, there's no trace of Shukadeva Goswami directly talking with Maharaj Parikshit. Then they decided, okay, we cut off the first canto and the second half of 12th canto, and we only take the middle part. But that should not be so. Even more than 500 years ago, Jiva Goswami already understood that people are thinking like this, so he especially mentioned in his commentary of Tattva Sandarbha, he said, actually, from the beginning to the end, the all 18,000 shlokas of Srimad Bhagavatam, over 300 chapters, they're all narrated by Srila Shukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. Even the part that we see that in the future, Sutta Goswami is going to talk with the sages of Naimisharanya. And even that part, Shukadeva Goswami, he narrated everything to Parikshit Maharaj. How wonderful it is. That's why in Srimad Bhagavatam at the end, in the 12th canto, it is mentioned, Srimad Bhagavatam mamalam mekam yad vaishnavam priyam. Srimad Bhagavatam, this is very much liked by all the Vaishnavas. Yasmin paramahamsam mamalam gyanam param giyate tatra gyana viraga sahitam naishkarmyam aviskritam tatshrimman supadam vicharana paro bhaktya vimuchin naraha. And this is a spotless Purana, the Amala Purana. And also it can give us the way to completely get rid of the fruitive activities and also provide us the process of transcendental knowledge, renunciation, and devotional service. So if we faithfully study, try to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, and if we hear it, we chant it, and our liberation from this material world is for sure, is certain, is guaranteed. So then we should think about. Now we again come back to the second point of this purport, the bodies, the different desires. I feel so confident because of you. Why? Whenever I couldn't remember the shloka, please help me, okay? So in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, in 2nd chapter, it is mentioned, Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam dara tata diras tatra namuhyati. So we change our bodies, and then in the same chapter it is also mentioned vasamse junani yatha vihaya navani granati naro parani tata sharirani vihaya junani anyani sanyati navani dehi. So we are constantly changing our bodies. Yes, thank you so much. Devotees should help each other. This is also something I recently found out in Hari Bhakti Vilas. And in that, there is a special section that Srila Sanatana Goswami mentioned. He said, even if at the time of our leaving our body, even there is no deities near us, we have no Gangajal, no tulsi leaves, nobody, like no other means, only like some devotees present near you, then you are sure going back to Godhead. So, Haribo, this gives us a lot of confidence. I feel like I do have some hope of going back to Godhead because of the devotees. So although we are influenced by our material desires, and because of these remnants, our past desires, we have to accept one body after another body. But then when we stop, when we start to think why I am doing this, maybe I should turn my attention. Maybe now I should try to focus on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. From that point only, everything would be changed. We are not going to be subjected to the laws of material nature. And it is very interesting that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he mentioned, when we just start our devotional service, even at the very beginning of Bhajana stage, and we have Bhakti Lata Beach, this creeper, this creeper of devotional service. And first of all, it would grow a small, like 2 leaves only. Just like we plant tulsi, 2 leaves, and they are like in the balancing, saplings, yes, thank you. And then there are 2 like small leaves, and 1 leaf is called a kleshagni. Immediately we would feel a relief from all the material pains and miseries. And then another leaf that represents subhada. And we can start to feel the good qualities. Good qualities. Actually, the good qualities, everything coming from the super soul. And then we start to realize those good qualities. We can also cultivate the good qualities in ourselves. For this, it is mentioned in Chandogya Upanishad 8.1.1. It is mentioned about one kind of special meditation about the very subtle space, akash, inside a special city. It is mentioned there is a very special transcendental city called Brahmapur. Actually, Brahmapur refers to the body of the meditator. And then in that city, there is a very subtle residence. And the subtle residence is a lotus-shaped. That refers to the heart. And then inside that subtle residence, there is a more subtle space. It's called akash. It's the sky. And also it actually refers to the super soul. And then we start to meditate. Actually, when someone reaches the stage of the super soul, it's not that you look at him and he look at you, just smile to each other. When you realize the super soul, then you understand the super soul has 8 qualities, like completely free of sin, and then free of death, fear, and free of the hunger, thirst, sorrow, and also whatever you desire will be fulfilled, and all your inclinations would become all successful. So when we realized the qualities of the super soul, and then we can also try to recover those qualities in ourselves. So like I mentioned, there is a microcosm and macrocosm. We meditate the qualities of the Supreme, and then we recover the good qualities in ourselves. And slowly, slowly, we're on the path of liberation, on the path of going back to Godhead. So this is a second point, the bodies. When we think about this, maybe there's a possibility that in one of my previous lives, I am also a lunatic. Then how horrible it is. Maybe when think about it, why now we can get this human body of life? Because we already went through 8,400,000 species of life. And in each life, we have to meet death. And in each species, maybe we lived more than one time. But at least we have 4,400,000 different ways that we already died. In one life, we are killed by a car. Another life, we are burned to death by the fire. Another time, maybe we are throwing in the water, we are drowned. Another time, maybe we got this disease. Another lifetime, another disease. When we think about all these possibilities, like I mentioned earlier, we try to distance ourselves as an observer, as a witness. We think about all the different species. Then we become horrified. When we become horrified, then we think, what is the alternative? What is the solution? How can I overcome this? How can I not become involved in this changing body business? At that time, we understood something about material energy. So that is the third main point of this purport. Material energy. She is a mother. She provides a body. But then, what is the truth? The truth is, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, no particular material body is created by Maya unless a particular living entity wants to possess it. Nothing is blind. It is not like some people nowadays, they like to do one kind of a game that they buy a box and they open and anything inside maybe give them a surprise. Actually, that whatever we meet, either good or evil, is not a surprise. Previously, we already cultivated a desire. So unless a particular living entity has cultivated a specific desire to have a specific body, otherwise the material nature, the mother nature, she won't create one particular body for us. And also it is mentioned even for the demigods, they are the representatives of the aggregate elements of this material nature. Even the subtle aggregates of different material elements won't be created by Maya unless some particular demigods, they have desires, and each of them is willing to take bodies made by that subtle element. So everything is according to our desires only. But still, we can see it's very funny. We are thinking everything is for us, and then for us to enjoy, and we are only paying attention to the outside coverings of the soul. Then we become deluded. We are completely in Maya. That's why we have so much attraction to a big house, to beautiful dress, to a lot of money. But we never thinking that actually everything is dear, not for loving those objects, but for loving the Atma. Everything is dear, not for loving those objects, but for loving the Atma, for loving the soul. Maybe we feel this facility is so nice, and it has value. But why it has value? The value is not for us to be attached to it. The value is because it can serve the purpose of the soul. The purpose of the soul is to utilize everything to serve the Lord. By the way, whatever I mentioned, that sentence is not created by myself. It comes from Aranyaka Upanishad 2.4.5 and also 4.5.6. Everything is dear, not for loving those objects, but for loving the Atma, for loving the soul. And when we understand the material nature, Prakriti, only provides us a body, but actually the ultimate creator is the Lord, then we think about surrendering. Maybe it's time to give up our conceptions, and then we should think about seriously adopt the path of devotional service. And then Srila Prabhupada mentioned the purport. The third major point is all these living entities mentioned above, they are just relatively happy. Some are feeling little happy, some they feel very much distressed. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 7th canto, Srila Prahlāda Maharaj, he told his father, Pala chaneha sharanam pitaro nesingha nartha sachagatam utam bhatimajato no tapta sata pratividhirya ihanja shishtas tavat viputanubhitam tvatupekshitanam. My Lord Nrsimhadev, O Supreme, due to a conception of material bodily ideas, and then this embodied soul, they are neglected and not cared for by you, cannot do anything for their own betterment. Maybe they adopt some temporary ways, they feel happy and relieved, but ultimately the result is not permanent. And for example, a father and mother cannot protect their child, and the physician and medicine cannot relieve the suffering patient, and also a boat on the ocean cannot protect the drowning man. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in the purport, in this material world, everyone is living in the prison house. But maybe someone in the lower mode of motion, like Tamagun, they're living in the third-class prison. And then someone in Rajagun, they may live in the second-class prison. And someone in the mode of goodness, they may live in the first-class prison house, but everyone's living in the prison. As Srila Jiva Goswami mentioned to us, for us, the conditioned souls, we may think, how wonderful is my residence. I have AC, I have water purifier, I have all kinds of facilities. But we have to think about the purpose of this material world. It's the prison house. In order to reclaim us, we have to be corrected. We are punished in this material world. And think about it. Any country, any government, they would make their prison house construction the most prominent part of their whole country construction. Maybe they would spend more energy and money to build beautiful theaters, amusement parks, or some welfare facilities. No government would invest everything in a prison house. So in a similar way, maybe in our limited angle of vision, we are thinking the prison house is already so wonderful. But there's another reality. In another reality in the spiritual world, everything is much, much more superior. And so Srila Prabhupada, he's telling us we should become free from the prison house. That's why he said in the last sentence of the purport that one should try to be free from prison life and go back home, back to Godhead. That is a real goal for all types of living entities. But how can we reach this goal? By ourselves, it's not possible. We are completely surrounded by darkness. We need a special help. The special help coming from where? As we already mentioned, the first point of this purport, it is mentioned that the Lord is the ultimate cause. Since He is the ultimate cause, and then we should get some of His mercy. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Brahmā, when he's repenting, he offered prayers to Lord Krishna. He said, Atapite deva padam bhujatvaya prasada leshanugrihi ta eva hi janati tatvam bhagavam mahimno nachanyam ekopi chiram vichinvam. If someone who can get even a little bit of trace of the mercy of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he can understand janati leshanugrihita. This is like a very little, very tiny, like a fiber, like a trace, that much mercy from the Lord's lotus feet. Then we can understand tattvam, the truth. The truth about what? The truth about Bhagavam, Mahimno, about His glorious. Panachanyam ekopi tiram vichimbam. Not those who are speculating. Even they are spending years of studying Vedic literatures, they still cannot understand. So we should understand we need the mercy of the Supreme Lord Himself. But we cannot directly get those mercy. Then we should get mercy from the devotees. Again, come back to the devotees. Devotees, they can give us a special help. The devotees, they give us a special eyes. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 11th canto, Lord Krishna, He personally taught Uddhava. He says, the devotees give you special eyes, divine eyes. And the ordinary eyes, like our eyesight is given externally by the sunset. We can only see something superfluous, external. But with the divine eyes given by the devotee, we can see everything. Therefore, devotee is everything for us. And by His grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada's mercy, He gave us everything, especially this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then we understand, we make a distinct difference between our body and the material nature and the soul. Then we change from being unhappy, become a reservoir of ecstatic love. Hare Krishna. Maybe one question. Yes. Thank you, Madhava, for passing the mic. I'm following this clock. According to this clock, another 2 minutes left.
Thank you very much for such an amazing analysis of the process of creation. So you packed so much in your class. It's amazing. It's unbelievable. So much information. Thank you. I want to also just a reminder, or you can give your expression on that, about Mahavishnu carrying, Rama Devi carrying the glance of Mahavishnu and then turning herself into material nature. So that was the original one about Sambhu, who is the glance of Mahavishnu being carried by Rama Devi into the material nature. So then the second one is, you said, Sadasiv. Then obviously the last one also was mentioned about the Prajapatis. They are the creators. So I come up with the 4 different creators, including, so if you want to confirm that.
Hare Krishna, thank you for your thoughtful question. I have to admit it is not possible to fully explain that part, because that part, all the details is mentioned in Srila Rupa Goswami's Lagu Bhagavatamrita. He starts from the 3 Purusha avatars and then up to the 3 Guna avatars. If we only read that part, it takes maybe at least 1 day. But briefly speaking, when Mahavishnu, he has a desire of creation, then he has a glance, because all different like pradhan coming out each of his pore. And then the glance itself is a personality, that is Sadashiva. And then that Sadashiva, of course, he turns into Advaitacharya. That's another thing. So that Sadashiva, that is the glance. And also the consort of Lord Mahavishnu, he turned herself into Rama Devi. So that is on the first level. And then Lord Brahmā, that's why I recommended everyone to refer to Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th canto, chapter 7, verse 11 and 12. And in that 2 verses give us like a gist of how this first creation and second creation happened. And then if we want more details, then we please refer 8th canto, chapter 7, verse 22. And then for Brahma's creation, please refer to 3rd canto, chapter 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Hare Krishna, thank you. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaura Pramanande, Hari Hari Bo.
So there are 4 levels.